When start the movie, a gun is pressed inside a man's mouth. Metal against teeth. Saliva thick. Breath held just a second too long. Edward Norton's character, a man without a name, is staring at the end of something that once felt like freedom. The muzzle trembles. Across from him, Tyler Durden smiles. Calm, confident, almost proud. Far below, glass stars wait to fall. And in that suspended moment, when the world is quiet enough to hear your own pulse, one question claws its way up. Is this what waking up looks like? Or is this what finally losing yourself feels like? To understand how he reached this moment, we have to go back. Before the fists, before the rules, before Tyler Durden ever learned his name. This story begins in late 1990s America, a time that promised comfort like salvation. Cities gleam with efficiency. Office buildings hum like machines that never sleep. Men in press shirts move from elevators to cubicles, living lives measured in emails, paychecks, and weekend furniture purchases. Everything works. Everything functions. Everything is empty. Edward Norton's character is one of them. He has a job that pays well enough to keep him obedient. A condo that looks exactly like the catalog promised. A life assembled piece by piece, as if identity itself could be shipped, boxed, and installed. But something inside him is missing. Not loudly missing. Quietly. It shows up at night. He doesn't sleep. Not because he's anxious, but because his mind refuses to power down. Insomnia doesn't just keep him awake, it dissolves him. Days blur, faces lose weight, reality softens around the edges. Doctors tell him the same thing every exhausted man hears. Pain is real only when it's physical. So he goes looking for physical pain. He finds it in places he doesn't belong. Support groups. Basements filled with strangers confessing terminal illness, grief, loss. Men crying without shame. Women holding each other without apology. And something strange happens. When Edward Norton's character cries with them, when he holds someone who is truly breaking, he sleeps. Pain shared becomes permission to rest. This is the first deep truth of the film. Modern men are starving for spaces where weakness is allowed.
But then Marla Singer walks in. Marla is everything this fragile balance cannot survive. She smokes like she doesn't care if tomorrow comes. She laughs at the wrong moments. She sees through lies without trying. Marla is not pretending. And because of that, she ruins the illusion. The narrator hates her immediately. Not because she's fake, but because she's real. She mirrors his dishonesty back at him, and he can't stand the reflection. Then comes the plane ride. The moment the universe shifts lanes. Edward Norton's character meets Tyler Durden. Tyler isn't polite. Tyler isn't impressed. Tyler speaks like someone who has already burned his rulebook. He sells soap for a living and somehow turns that into philosophy. Tyler says things no one else dares to say plainly. You are not your job. You are not how much money you have in the bank. You are not the furniture you buy to feel complete. Tyler Durden laughs at the life the narrator has been obeying. And obedience is what the narrator has been drowning in. That night, the narrator's apartment explodes. Every carefully chosen possession, gone. Every identity he built from catalogs, erased. And for the first time, there is nothing left to protect. So he calls Tyler. They drink, they talk.
They stand under sick yellow lights in a parking lot that smells like oil and regret. Tyler looks at him and says, "Hit me." The first punch isn't violent. It's honest. Pain erupts, sharp, grounding. A sensation that proves existence. They laugh. They fight again. And something inside Edward Norton's character clicks into place. This is what being present feels like. Soon other men join. Men with dead eyes and quiet fury. Men raised to be useful, not fulfilled. They fight in basements. They bleed together. They smile through broken teeth. Fight Club is born. There are rules, not because rules matter, but because secrecy creates meaning. In those basements, stripped of names and titles, men feel equal. Pain flattens hierarchy. Bruises erase resumes. But Tyler Durden is not satisfied. Tyler doesn't want men awake for a few hours a week. Tyler wants them reborn. They move into an abandoned house on Paper Street. No comfort, no order, no escape from themselves. Soap is made from stolen human fat, the literal waste of a consumer society. Tyler teaches them that destruction is purification, that pain is instruction, that obedience is freedom. Fight Club mutates into Project Mayhem. We leave the story in a city that will keep rebuilding, indifferent and persistent. The movement's spectacle will become rumor. The men who once belonged to it will scatter into new lives with new compromises. The woman who remained will carry the scars like a ledger of truths. The narrator will wake to a world that has been altered, yes, but not fundamentally remade. The final image is less a triumph than an invitation. Look at what you have done, name it, and ask what you will make of what remains. Remember the first question: who wins in the ruin? The film's answer is both brutal and humbling. No one truly wins when identity is outsourced to spectacle. Victory, in the deepest sense, belongs to the rare person who refuses to be merely a reflection of someone else's creed. The person willing to accept both the pain of change and the boredom of rebuilding. The film closes not with a neat summation, but with a mirror held up to us. It asks that we look long and honestly. It asks that we choose to build, slowly, with the hard instruments of responsibility, not with the flashbulbs of revolution. Project Mayhem grows, not through ideas, but through certainty. Certainty is intoxicating. Certainty removes doubt. Certainty removes responsibility. The city becomes a target. Credit systems, banks, symbols of control. Tyler believes destroying the system will free everyone. But the film asks a dangerous question here. If you destroy the cage, what happens to the animals who only know cages? Then the truth cracks through. Tyler Durden is not real. He never was. Tyler is Edward Norton's character, split down the middle. Tyler is the voice that refused submission, the rage that had nowhere to go, the fantasy of dominance born from powerlessness. Tyler Durden is what happens when repression finally snaps. And now, that fantasy is in charge. Project Mayhem doesn't stop when its creator panics. Ideas don't obey regret. The narrator tries to stop it, fails, runs, and returns to where we began. Gun in mouth, Tyler smiling. This is not suicide. This is accountability. He pulls the trigger, not to die, but to kill the lie he let rule him. Tyler disappears. The buildings fall anyway, because consequences don't reverse themselves. Hand in hand with Marla Singer, Edward Norton's character watches the skyline collapse. No cheering, no triumph, only silence. And that silence is the film's final statement. Fight Club is not about violence. It's about identity. It's about what happens when men are taught to consume instead of become. When pain is buried instead of understood. When rebellion replaces responsibility. The film does not tell you to burn the world. It asks something far more uncomfortable. If everything you believe in collapses, what part of you survives? And are you brave enough to live with what remains?
So if you feel the urge to smash a wall tonight, if some quiet part of you longs for the clarity of breaking doors, ask yourself what you will place in the space you make. Will you plant a garden? Or will you erect another barricade? The film does not give you comfort. It gives you a question. And that, finally, is its gift.